Greetings, fellow songwriters and seekers, and welcome back to Muse and Measure. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button down below. There's the guy on the Lotus pedal or the button down below. You can find it. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about my forthcoming album called Fool's Leap of Faith on Octave Records. In previous videos, I talked about the story behind that, how I even got hooked up with this record label, this incredible one out in Boulder, Colorado, and the process, all the little slings and arrows that I went through and booby traps that I had to deal with to get the album done. Even though I took a year sabbatical to write this album, we are stuck with ourselves and our habitual patterns, and that's our biggest obstacle always, is ourselves to getting anything done. And I talked in previous videos about how I have really struggled with discipline. I have a lot of discursive thoughts and activities. I'm interested in so many different things that everything is enticing. Everything is, the shiny new object that will take me away from the discipline process that's going to get me to where I want to be. So just like making these videos is challenging for me to set up the lights and make it all happen, and to think of what videos to make and to sit down and do them take after take if necessary. It's a necessary discipline, but one that is not easy for me, and it's a struggle. So all that's in previous videos. What I want to talk about is what I mean by leap of faith, because actually my friend Stephen Fleck came up with the title, Fool's Leap of Faith. And I think at first I was like a little bit iffy about the title. I tried all kinds of different titles for the album, like Another Round, which was, dealing with, another round, we're doing another album, Another Round talks about, of course, drinking. I struggled with drinking for a long time, and I've been sober for 9 years, so I'm happy to say that. Plus, the cycle of death and rebirth, round and round. And of course, an album, CDs are round, they spin around. So I had so many great connotations there, so I might use that in the future, so don't steal it. Of course, you can steal it if you want to. And then I love Emily Dickinson, and actually visited the Morgan Library with my friend Adam DeGraff this year, and we got to hold an Emily Dickinson poem in our hands, a handwritten one. And so I always loved the line, "Zero at the bone," and so that was the prospective title for a while too. But that's just, that's one of her most famous poems, and it's about a snake. I could say the snake's shedding his skin, but really that poem is about something different, so it didn't really fit. So then, I asked my partner Karen to look through all the titles that I have, and she liked A Fool's Leap of Faith. And so I am wise in some ways, and I went with what she had to say and trusted her instincts. And so that's the title of it. And so I'm kind of mulling over, like, okay, at first it was like, it's okay, I sort of like it. It kind of works, doesn't fit perfectly. But as I've been thinking about it, it's just really growing on me, because it's really what this whole process for this album has been. The fool, of course, is me. And if a fool persists in his folly, he will become wise. That's that old William Blake quote. So what that means for me is that if you keep doing the same stupid stuff over and over and over again, eventually you'll learn the negative consequences of it, and you might become wise, or all the right things you're doing, just by foolishly following habitual patterns, all of a sudden are going to reveal themselves to you. And so there's that being conscious or unconscious, doing things in the world that, the world gives you all this feedback, and it's going to force you to become wise with time, hopefully if you live long enough. Not many of us, not all of us, I should say, are so lucky. Maybe they win a Darwin Award because they do something so foolish that it wipes them out of the gene pool. But the leap of faith, that old, the term coined by Soren Kierkegaard, not Kierkegaard, saltus fide. I apologize for you Latin scholars out there if I'm butchering that. But he's talking about the leap of faith, and that, like, in order to have this spiritual experience, you have to kind of go past logic and reason, because for him, God was beyond those things. And so you really have to, there's a certain point where your logic and reason and all your philosophizing has limits, and that God is beyond those limits. Now, whether you believe in God or not is up to you, but I think this is a really important metaphor for how we go about life and how we deal with all situations in our life of newness and where we're wanting to stretch ourselves out of our normal, safe, cocoon-like being and to become something more. Now, this could apply to all different types of things. It applies for every time you're going to take a risk. You're taking a leap of faith. You don't really know what's going to happen. And you can try to calculate it and perform all these rehearsals, like that great show, The Rehearsal, where he basically builds all these sets and tries to foresee all this stuff. But life is so complicated and there's so many variables that you can't predict exactly how things are going to go. So you can try to kind of hunker down and build a process where you kind of eliminate the uncertainty as much as possible, or you can embrace that uncertainty. And the reason I feel like this is a good album title is because I did that in the songwriting process. Whereas before, I would be basically writing in a way that's much more traditional. I'd come up with these seeds, I'd slowly develop them, I'd try them out line by line, I really work every little line, make sure it's musically interesting, make sure that the lyrics are interesting, that it's saying something that can be, understood by the audience, hopefully. Now, that's a totally great, valid way to write songs. But what I wanted to do was to really kind of push myself out of that. I've been writing songs for a long time. I wanted to try something very new. Well, I should say it wasn't completely new because I've done a lot of improvisation in my life. And I really love it. It's really one of the funnest things that I do, but I've never used it actually as a way to write a polished song. And that's what I did with this album is most of the songs came from an improvisation. Now, they didn't come directly, meaning like I just blurted out some stuff and then called it good and then just submitted that and we recorded it in the studio. Of course, I took it and polished it up and rewrote sections and wrote whole other sections, but the basic kernel and the majority of the song came from improvisation. And so what you have to do when you take a leap of faith is you really have to go past your logic and reason. Of course, they can be helpers in the journey, but they can't be driving the car. Because if you do that too much, you'll just kind of keep stopping and you'll start songwriting. You'll just start, editing things, redoing things over and over again. And I've caught myself in improv sessions where like I'll sing a line and then I'll sing it again slightly different to try to polish it up. And then I'll catch myself and go, oh, I'm songwriting right now. I'm not improving. Okay? So improving is just really like flying by the seat of your pants and just like counting on your instinct and also following where it hears that you should go and letting that guide as opposed to you thinking like, okay, I'm in charge now and I'm going to dictate exactly where we're going and the music's going to follow exactly and serve my purpose in that direction. In a lot of ways, the kind of sublime nature of music is guiding it. And it's kind of creepy at times, and it's kind of scary at times, and you go to really weird places. But when you let it go to these new places and you just follow it, and you don't try to kind of rein it in and tame it, it takes you to some really interesting places. So let me do like just 1 minute or 1 or 2 minutes of improv. I have no idea what I'm going to sing about. I have no idea what I'm going to play. I'm going to pick any kind of random key, and it might be total garbage that I come up with, or it might be the best song ever, but probably something in between. So what do my instincts say to play? I'll start with F. As the second hand clicks down the time I've spent away from you, there's nothing else that I want to do except to escape the dirty plates and the dirty towels reminding me, oh, what a fool I've been. What else can I not escape except to replace your face with an ounce of whiskey. All right, what the hell was that? Who knows? So as I was doing that, I have no idea. Because you are slightly embarrassed by it, and you probably are not going to do it for a whole community of YouTube watchers like I just did. So if I'm willing to humiliate myself like that, you can do it in the privacy of your own home, and you don't have to show it to anybody. So what I would do is then listen back to that, and I generally did about 10 minutes of improv because it takes a while to warm up. It also takes a while to let go of that habitual need to be in control, and to let the subconscious mind go forth and to trust your ear where it wants to go. Of course, as you're playing, you're relying on, okay, well, it should go to this chord next. What are the possibilities? Your brain's figuring all this out. It's using logic and reason. So I could see all this stuff going on in my brain, and I didn't probably get to a place yet of where I came up with anything good or anything surprising, because it takes a few minutes for that stuff to go away. And maybe it takes hours and hours at a time. And sometimes you're able just to tap right into it. But that's what I mean by a leap of faith, is that like, okay, I'm trying to jump out of the logic and reason, and jump out of music theory, and jump out of the way, whatever topic I think a song is, and what I think, all that's been said on that topic in the past, how it's informing that. Can I make room for something new to come out, for some kind of new image to come out? That's the real leap of faith. And it's really hard to do at first, because we are so used to being in control and having our logical and reasonable mind driving the ship. But you really need to open up to these other possibilities. And artists have been trying to find ways to get out of that logic and reason. Like the Surrealist, I think, said, they said something like the twin enemies of the Sublime are logic and lucidity. Okay. So they did automatic writing, where they would just like try to get into a trance and just write like stream of consciousness. They, of course, did all these kind of surrealistic games. There's a wonderful book by, I think it's City Lights Books, that published it, of surrealist games that you can play that help you get out of it. I know the poet Alice Notley used to close her eyes and visualize herself walking backwards down a flight of stairs for 100 steps, and then she would start writing. And this was some way of like breaking out of the logical and to allow for these surprises, for the subconscious to well up and be a source all of a sudden. And then I think Wordsworth would say his name over and over and over again until it sounded like the strangest gobbledygook and nonsense. And then he knew it was time, he could start writing. So these are all different strategies that people have used to get out of this logical framework. And this is not to say that that is going to be your end product. Your end product is going to be taking the best of that material and whatever fruit it bears, and then honing it and pruning it and shaping it into a way that it's something that's really satisfying. And hopefully I did that on this upcoming album, but that's why I decided this is actually a good album title, The Fool's Leap of Faith, because that's really what I did in this album, is to start using improvisation as a means of writing songs, whereas I hadn't done that before. So that was also a leap of faith, that like, holy shit, what if it doesn't work out? If I just get a bunch of garbage. I had some safeties in the background. I had, I could always go back to my old process. I had tons and tons of seeds and tons of ideas from the past that I could go back to, but I really wanted to do something new. And so that's why I decided to take this fool's leap of faith. And I hope you will start to use this tool as well and take the leap of faith as well, because I think it will bear a lot of great fruit for you. Anyways, best of luck with your songwriting. Try improving in your next session. Just do 5 or 10 minutes and just see what comes of it. Don't listen to it right away. Listen to it hours later and see if you played anything that you like. Maybe a cool chord progression came out of it. Who knows? So let me know how it goes. Put your comments down below. If you want to message me privately, it's tyler@musemeasure.com. And please, if you have any questions at all, I'd love to gear towards you, this channel, and answer your questions and help you out, because we're all in this together. All right, best of luck. I'll see you soon.